This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Thanks very much for tuning in to News 9. You're watching Unmissable. I'm Nabila Jamal. I take you through news from India and across the globe. As I cover you up, I start with our top story here on Indian government deciding to enable an app for cybersecurity reasons on all new smartphones, which means that now if you buy a smartphone, you will have an app inbuilt in it, which is a government mandated app. According to the opposition and critics, they say this is a surveillance app, a deliberately done app instilled in your phone to track you. While the government says it's all for safety purposes and it's optional. You download it, you can delete it. But you have now smartphone companies as well, like Apple, resisting this move, saying they have their strict privacy policies. We're going to take you through details with our experts on the panel to give us a little more. And also on our top story today and deep dive, passengers' lives on the line. Air India flew a plane of aircraft that wasn't fit to fly, and it flew that aircraft nearly 8 times. Knowing very well it wasn't fit to fly, why did this lapse happen? We'll take you through those details. And finally on our top story, DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah meeting for the second time for breakfast, saying High Command will decide, High Command will decide. At the end of it, both yearning to one to be the Chief Minister, the other to stay as the Chief Minister. What's really going to happen? Time will tell, but we're going to bring you the latest updates on that. As always, I start with the headlines. Lok Sabha to discuss 150th anniversary of Vande Mataram on December 8th, electoral reforms on December 9th. Decision follows all-party meeting amid stalemate over opposition's demand to debate special intensive revision of electoral rolls. Prime Minister Office renamed Seva Tirth under Central Vista project to reflect government's focus on service-oriented governance, marking another step in renaming of key official buildings and roads nationwide. Remember, it's not just the Prime Minister's office. There are multiple changes in names, and that also includes the Governor's office. The Raj Bhavan will now be called the Lok Bhavan, and the Central Secretariat will now be called Kartavya Bhavan. Prime Minister's office, Seva Tirth. So this has been done to shrug off or erase the colonial era hangover that India has, says the government. Now, reports suggest that Apple refuses to preload Sanchar Sathi app on iPhones to raise concerns with the government of India, saying that they already have issues when it comes to, basically they have strict legal norms and points in place that they will not try on their users. And this app, according to Apple, could just be a violation of privacy rights of their customers. Karnataka power tussle turns flashy as BJP revives luxury watch row, accusing the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah of flaunting 43 lakh watch, a Santos de Cartier. A watch the BJP says basically is so expensive, the brand changes, socialism remains expensive. A taunt coming from the BJP. Revanth Reddy, Telangana Chief Minister, says Lord Hanuman is the god of the unmarried. Questions multiplicity of Hindu deities. In fact, BJP and BRS demand immediate apology for Revanth Reddy, according to them, mocking Hindu god. Tamil Nadu tells Supreme Court's Vijay's intentional 7-hour delay. And TVK's reckless misleading actions triggered premature crowds. Says false announcements fueled congestion leading to 41 deaths. The Karur stampede case, here the Supreme Court intervenes, saying intentional 7-hour delay and TVK's reckless misleading actions triggered premature crowds, pointing fingers at Vijay. fresh complaint filed against Rahul Mamkuttatil as another woman alleges sexual abuse under pretext of marriage in Kerala. This Congress leader Rahul Mamkuttatil now under scanner. He's already facing multiple allegations of harassment by women. Victim emailed complaint to the KPCC chief and the DJP seeking action. Now, Imran Khan is alive and his sister Uzma Khan has been granted permission to meet him. She comes out to say that he is indeed alive but is being tortured, kept in confinement, and blame Asim Munir, the army chief, for the plight of Imran Khan at this point. All right, let's start with our top story here that's really shaken the country at this point. The Indian government deciding all major smartphone brands henceforth, like Apple, Samsung, Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, all smartphones in India's largest smartphone market, which is India in fact, to pre-install the Sanchar Sathi cybersecurity app on every new device that will be sold now in the country. This is under the updated Telecommunication Cybersecurity Amendment Rules 2025 that will come into effect from November 28th. Now, it's the first time a government app will be present on all new phones in India, which is a market of smartphones. We have literally 1.2 billion mobile users, and in this market, decision like this is massive. Now, Sanchar Sathi is an app that's designed, according to the government, to identify and block fake or clone devices. Basically, if your phone is stolen, then this app will help you track it better and faster, even better than possibly what the options or privileges that iPhone users or Samsung gives you. Here, this app will help the government trace it faster, is what they claim. It would also help trace lost and stolen phones, as I mentioned. Cloned devices, most importantly, which is used for cyber fraud, can be detected better. Stop fraudulent SIM and call activity. So the government says this is essential to reduce the number of rising cyber fraud cases and improve network safety as well. However, this move has now triggered enough and more criticism. The opposition leaders and privacy experts say this mandatory installation of this app raises several concerns of data privacy, user consent, possible surveillance that could take place. Following this criticism, Communications Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has also clarified, saying this app can be deleted if it's optional. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't, don't. But it's done for security's sake. I'm going to take you through all those reactions there. Smartphone makers, on one hand, have already shown some resistance. Apple, in fact, says its policy itself does not allow such apps to be pre-installed, saying that this could be difficult to breach because this raises a lot of concerns on customers' privacy. They may need software updates for devices already produced, an unprecedented step, of course, here as well. So the larger debate, of course, remains that does this app here really mean surveillance or security? That's the question being asked as of today. Let's take you through the government's response and the opposition's fire.
So it is a snooping app. I mean, clearly it's ridiculous. Now, where else do they want to, I mean, citizens have their right to privacy. Even all of you must be having a right to privacy to send your own messages to family, friends, without the government looking at everything.
Is the
it's not just one thing. It's not just snooping on the telephones. It's overall. They are turning this country into a dictatorship in every form.
These apps can be useful provided they are voluntary. Everybody who needs them should be able to download them. Making anything compulsory in a democracy is troubling, but I need to look a little more as to what the logic is of the government. In fact, the government should explain all this to the public instead of just passing an order that the media reports. I think we need to have a discussion where the government explains what is their thinking. For me, I think an app that actually helps us to locate our phones or whatever, all of that is not a bad idea.
Call monitoring है, अगर आप चाहते हो तो इसको आप एक्टिवेट करो, अगर आप नहीं चाहते तो इसे एक्टिवेट मत करो। सुनिए ना, अगर आप इसको अपने फोन पे रखना चाहते हो तो रखो, अगर आप इसको डिलीट करना चाहते हो तो डिलीट करो। ये कस्टमर प्रोटेक्शन की बात है और हर भ्रम को मैं तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं। आपको डिलीट करना है तो आप डिलीट कर दोगे, आप कोई मैंडेटरी नहीं है।
संचार साथी कैन नॉट रीड योर मैसेजेस। संचार साथी आपके कॉल नहीं सुन सकती है। संचार साथी कैन नॉट लिसन टू योर कॉल्स, आइदर द कॉल्स दैट यू रिसीव और द कॉल्स दैट यू मेक। संचार साथी आपके निजी डाटा तक, पर्सनल डाटा तक नहीं पहुंच सकती। तो क्या काम है संचार साथी का? यह सब कर नहीं सकती है तो वो क्या करेगी? उसका काम सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइड करने का है।
All right. Well, there you have it. You have the government clearly flatly refusing that this is not a surveillance app. It's the only job of Sanchar Sathi app is to ensure phone cloning, cyber fraud, theft, all of that can be detected, cracked down better. Let me bring in our panelists to give us a little more clarity. Of course, citizens of this country at this point questioning whether this app will act as security or surveillance. Now, as much as the government now trying to allay fears, the opposition raising questions, critiques saying a lot more. Kanish Gaur, founder, India Future Foundation and cybersecurity expert, joins us. We have Khushbu Jain, advocate, Supreme Court and data privacy law expert, to give us a little more. Kanish, over to you. Is this surveillance or cybersecurity hack proof?
Hi, thank you for bringing me in. See, for bringing any such app, you need to first bring awareness. The government needs to come forward and explain what is the need of such an app. And if they are bringing such an app in the time when they are trying to bring in a data protection law, how they are going to safeguard citizen rights, that is privacy. That is something that needs to be explained. It can't be the other way that you bring in an app, bring in a regulation and then start getting into explaining that it is not going to do surveillance. So there has to be a meaningful way. In a democracy, you hold public consultations on this matter. You take opportunities to discuss with industry and civil society. You don't impose. You bring in an app and then you inform that this is mandated. Then you come and tell that this app will come preloaded. If you want to uninstall it, you can uninstall it. These things come before, not later. So the approach which the government has taken, I think they could do far better in terms of thinking it in a manner where it is seen more democratic and there the fear mongering is taken away. Because there is too much of fear mongering because people are putting out screenshots right now saying that the app is accessing their data, monitoring their phone, looking at their SMSs. And at the same time, you have explanations coming from non-technical people who are politicians explaining that this doesn't do the same. Now, this leads to more chaos and confusion on ground. If this was the case, they should have used certain technology experts or experts from Department of Telecom to explain this. If political leaders have to do the technical explaining and promote something which is not shown on the app, then I think it's not right in the spirit of democracy.
Well, you know, we're looking very clearly at the government saying that these phone manufacturers like Apple or Samsung must pre-install these apps, in particularly the Saji Sachar app has to be pre-installed, which means that if you buy a phone, that app comes with it. Now you can delete that app later. How many of them have that kind of knowledge or education? Like you said, they should be educated about it. But anyway, a little more clarity, Kanishk, on why are we looking at this to be mandatory pre-installed, and Apple companies like Apple are already saying that this goes against our privacy guidelines. It's not something that we would approve of, as expected.
See, one point of time, government is also trying to bring in a regulation for geo-tagging SIMs to messaging platforms like WhatsApp, Telegram, and at the same time, government is trying to pre-install an app. Now, it takes us away from the democratic principles on which our country is framed, the fundamentals which are inscribed in our constitution. Now, through this mechanism, how do you safeguard that the data which the government is collating will not be used for mass surveillance or is securely handled and is safe and would not be hacked by third parties tomorrow, what is the mechanism government has done to ensure enough safety and security of such an app? All those questions remain unanswered today. No one has actually looked at the safety and security. If I go back, in the COVID app, we had similar security issues and there were leakages which happened. Recently, the DigiYatra app, there were enough questions asked in terms of some of the private companies cloning the DigiYatra app, right? So any app if government is trying to bring in and pre-install, it has to have certain level of assurance built in. Right now, that level of assurance and trust has not been built in by the government and the Department of Telecom.
Okay. All right. Khushbu Jain, who's a lawyer at this point, gave us a little more, Khushbu, on citizens feeling slighted, a lot of them believing that this could mean surveillance, trying to find out what they're up to, what they do, get data access for the government at this point. Of course, this is the wildest of imagination and could very well be true. We know some countries probably are doing it secretly. We trust the Indian government not to do this, and they promise that this is only for security purposes. But many of them, including the opposition as expected, are not convinced. Tell us a little more on the legal implications. You have companies like Apple calling this a violation of data privacy breach.
See, let's understand what the app is. Our app is designed to protect users against any kind of identity theft, number one. Number two, any kind of device theft. Number three, any kind of online scams that is happening to enable them to check on SIM cards or usage or blocking of lost or lost or stolen mobile devices, verification of official contact numbers, which is consistent with, let's understand, the basic duty of the state. State is entasked. Understand this part. State is entasked to safeguard its citizen, to protect its citizen. Its duty is to do that. And if this would have not been there, we would have said that they are not performing their duty, because we are seeing the number of cyber crimes that are increasing. 1930, everything else is something which is after a crime has happened. This is something which is a prevention part of it, or a preemptive measure that is put across. Now, if one has to understand what does this app practically takes, it's nothing. I have downloaded the app. You go to your settings, you see, open your camera settings, see how many apps have gotten access to that. This app doesn't take access to your camera, doesn't take access to your location, doesn't take access to your phone book, doesn't take access to your gallery, doesn't take access to your tracking. If all these features are not there, practically just by giving a pre-installed app is something which is enabling so many citizens who are using smartphone after COVID has come in place, that they are forced to switch to smartphones, and we are looking at digital India as our future. That's where the government is trying to give you that security in place. One has to understand, this is not a surveillance part of it, but look at the aspect that a government is duty bound to safeguard its citizen, and it is like a checkpost. We have a checkpost in place. Without that, there is a problem. That's what government is trying to do in the world of internet. Are they taking the data right now? No, absolutely not. It is not visible. You don't need an expert to understand this. Open your phone, you download yourself, and just see through that are they taking access to this, and you will be shocked when you see your camera setting that how many apps that you have downloaded has an access to your phone gallery, has an access to your camera, has an access to your device location, has an access to tracking aspect of it. So I think we need to understand that what exactly it is aimed for. Is it doing that? Is it
saying that we're already, if we have fear of being if we have fear of being snooped into, we are already being snooped into by apps. Forget apps that you're, forget the other cybersecurity apps, but also your social media apps like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They all have information that you may not want them to have, but they have it. When downloading those apps or using it, you're very openly and freely, without a thought, giving information, your personal information to these platforms. Then what's the problem if the government wants to install a cybersecurity hack-proof app? A good take on that, certainly.
Why pre-install? Why pre-install such an app?
No. Pre-install.
Let it be on the Play Store.
There are X number of people who don't understand when to download, and this is a security feature.
Do an awareness. No. If you have security features,
uninstall
let it be on the Play Store. Let it be on the Play Store. Spread awareness.
It's not
people
the choice.
decide
You need
whether
to
they
understand
want.
the government is duty bound here to take care of its
Government
citizens'
is not
safety
duty
and
bound
security.
to
Absolutely,
no.
who else? You are expecting Meta
No,
to be duty
if the-
bound to take care of people's security?
No, they can say
It's government
no.
task.
Meta does
It's
not.
their duty
Meta,
to
Instagram
practically
does
do
not come
this.
pre-installed on your phone.
I am saying if
I'm
they
sorry,
are failing
Khushbu,
to do this,
Meta
they are
does,
failing on that
Meta
part which they are
platforms.
entrusted.
Instagram doesn't come pre-installed on your phone. Let people decide. Give them a choice at least, right? If they want to have this app on their phone, and then let them take that call. Why are you assuming
do you not have a phone which
that
has
people
pre-installed apps?
don't
You have minimum of 10 pre-installed apps whenever you buy a phone.
But let me decide what permissions I want to give, which
No,
app I want to
you
have.
are absolutely okay to give
The
permissions.
user
You
has
can decide over
No,
here to give
one point-
permissions. It is not
No.
taking that. It is not taking that data. You need to understand. Let's not create an
Have you looked at the
uproar
security
among people
settings?
when
How
government is
secure
trying to keep its
Have you looked
citizens
at
secure.
Khushbu,
No,
let me ask you this.
no, but
Like,
Let's understand basics.
okay,
no?
my question is,
What
Kanishk, you're saying that the government is not looking at that kind of data, but who's auditing that? You're saying the government is not
Exactly.
looking at that kind of data. Who's auditing that?
Who's auditing? Where is the independent
That there should
assessment?
be
Where is the
security, but
independent
that is not
assessment?
just government, that is
Where is
everybody.
the independent
Everybody
assessment
who
of
should keep
this
security
Sanchar
in
Sathi app?
place.
Khushbu, have you seen the independent assessment of this report? Has any secure expert validated that this app is secure?
So, Kanish, then I
Any
would
third-party
request
testing
that
assurance?
every app that is available in Indian jurisdiction should go through that.
Every app, okay.
It's a very
We
good
are-
suggestion.
let's-
But
a
are you and me
pre-installed app
capable to
you bring
understand
in-
that? Are you me and capable
No,
to
so
understand what?
recently, are you?
Every
you
app
asked
should go
DGR
through
app.
what?
Every app should go
did
through that
you have
security
the app?
aspect which he's saying that
Okay.
report should be visible when it comes to security audit.
Of
I am
course,
with
if the
you on
government
that.
is
I am never
mandating,
against
if the government is
security of
mandating,
citizen,
government is
privacy of
mandating
citizen.
it. No,
Okay.
if the government is mandating, there has to be certain level of assurance, right? You're doing
But
it.
You know,
assurance.
but
How are you-
in
how are
that
you
sense,
assuming and
Khushbu,
presuming
you have accountability for these apps in foreign countries. Facebook is facing multiple legal hassles where people have outrightly filed lawsuits against Facebook for trying to prey on their information, for seeking personal information, and they are legally liable. But if a government of India, if the country's government imposes pre-mandatory installation, who questions it?
I am with you on this. When it comes to privacy, when it comes to security, even the exemption under the DPDP Act doesn't go to the government. Security aspect, even government has to keep data secure. They are not given that exemption. But when it comes to duty, when it comes to performing for larger good, when it comes to situations like this, government is bound to do these things. But security, I am absolutely with you, because if you are putting that security aspect for A, B, C company who are private entities, it should be similar for the government as well, because my data is with them. But you have to also understand that they are not having any backdoor entry to your data. The app that it is visible right now, it doesn't have a backdoor entry. It takes your consent. I go on the app. If I share a number that this is a suspected number, or this is the number from which I got a call which can be a fraud, or this is the fraud related aspect, that data is something which they're gonna keep it. But not access to your phone gallery, access to your camera, access to your location, or trying to track you wherever you're going. That's not the concept of the app, and that's not there in the app. Please download and see through your phone.
But it's interesting. It's interesting that the government plans to pre-install the app. It's auto-installed on these smartphones, and then the deletion comes only later. So there's the option of choice here is sort of hazy. It's people are not going to be spotting it. A lot of them. My mother does not know what apps are on the phone that are pre-installed. She has no idea how to delete an app or how to install an app. So for her, she's going to be oblivious. I'm not saying that the government's doing anything wrong, but the option of choice is jaded. It's not absolutely clear for the people.
I am with you.
Let me bring in Dilip Cherian as well, who's also a brand guru. He understands consumer policy and brands. Dilip Cherian, thanks very much for joining us. And your take on this, on the app that's been mandated for smartphones to have so that they could curb cybersecurity. Now, look, on one hand, as much as we want to diss it, we're looking at the worst cybersecurity cases. The rise is exponential. In the last year or two, cybersecurity cases, cyber threats has increased exponentially. Senior citizens, people of all ages, in fact, have lost a lot of money. Their data has been stolen, stones fallen, and crime itself is out of control because of loose cybersecurity laws. Now, according to the government, or rather cybersecurity itself, but according to the government, this is one way of tightening the law, which is put an app so that they are able to detect this kind of crimes, and that therefore their law machineries will act to cracking it. So critics calling this nothing but double-edged sword. On one hand, you might promise to protect us, but also you're spying on us.
You know, I think the minister has done very well by announcing outside Parliament that the option to delete the app exists. It is extraordinarily suspect that government should ask for a pre-installation of an app. App installation should be the business of a citizen. We are now, please understand, we are talking of a government which has not been able to get its act together as far as street cameras are concerned. So, you know, let's not say that government has a duty to protect its citizen. Of course, government has a duty to protect its citizen. That's what taxes are paid for. That's why governments are elected. But they have no business in a situation where in the recent past, there have been instances where government has, for example, said that you will use a certain app for messaging. It's a different thing that the app died a sudden death, or that in the past it tried to create its own social media thing. Government is not in this business. Government should just focus on providing adequate security in the homes, in the roads, in the railway stations, in in places where they're supposed to do. Pre-installing an app on your phone sounds unfortunately suspicious, and I'm delighted that the minister has made this statement. I hope it converts into policy. As far as global companies are concerned, as far as brands are concerned, what they put onto their phones, again, needs to be examined, and we need to make sure that they also get drawn into this issue of privacy. And
it's so hard to get the American government, okay, let alone India, the American government finds it very hard to get Apple to share data with them on the biggest of crime cases. So Apple is very clear-cut and curt about their privacy policies. So, and a lot of us use iPhones, you know, as much as we might think Apple is expensive, it's in every second person's hand.
But also, you know,
and Apple is also known to be one of the safest devices. That's what they claim,
and
it's
allow
also
you to
by and large true.
Your phone is lost.
But now Apple has resisted, saying we're not going to do it.
Phones can be
now,
traced.
Apple, for example, is saying they're not going to do it, or at least that's what they intend not to comply. So what will happen? Do you believe that the government, do you believe that the government will then arm twist companies like Apple, that we will not, I mean, could that be the next possibility, that if Apple denies it, then you've got, you know, then the government might just impose some restrictions on Apple's entry into India then? Could that be a possibility? Kashish, you want to bring in your views on that?
I think Apple has...
Khushbu, I beg your pardon. Khushbu.
Yeah. All right. So see, I really want to take back over here on understanding, and I think I loved your example that your mother also today doesn't understand the art where what all apps are in her phone and what has to be uninstalled or installed. Understand the example which a previous speaker of mine said. I love the example that CCTV cameras, why are they put when it comes to security of the states? They don't want to do a surveillance that who are you walking with on the road. Same thing is happening in the digital world. You're giving an app, people don't understand. They are making sure that when you are talking about digital India, you want everybody to practically do banking online, to you know, study online, do everything. They are bringing in an app in place which can be a preemptive, not after that you are scammed. That this is the way you can check, not forcing you, but giving you that option right there with it. That boss, you want to be on the apps, you want to be on the digital aspect of it. This is the way to check. You see the number of complaints that are filed every day when it comes to cybercrime, and that would be just 10%, because rest 90% of the people don't even file a complaint for small amounts that they have been, you know, duped with online. with that staggering number is where government is trying to do a preemptive step that, boss, you need to understand what is happening in the digital world, and this is the preemptive way to do it. Why are we questioning? It's not a plug-in to take your data. The data you will share is the data they're going to utilize it to build in the repository, to act upon it, to tell you this is a fraud number, this is not a fraud number, to tell you which mobile number of yours is registered with you, to tell you the stolen mobile details. Why it is considered as negative over here? I'm failing to understand this part. And coming to your direct question, for companies like Apple or Google or anybody for that matter, India is one of the largest consumer base. We are one of the largest. Practically, they should abide when it comes to laws, when it comes to policy of India, when it comes to these policies wanting to safeguard and secure its citizens.
Have their own policies, you can't arm twist them.
Which can be bigger than securing your own citizens. I think it is a job of the government that they should do this, and anybody who wants to come in between that, I don't think so. That's a decision that is to be discussed as well.
So then it should be optional. If I mean, nobody is doubting the government's intentions. You know, this comes with a doubt only because it's being forced to be pre-installed. The fact that the companies are mandated in 90 days time, all fresh smartphones must pre-install it. That's where the doubt comes as to why are people being forced. It should be optional. If they have an option to delete it, then might as well keep it an app that can be downloaded intentionally with choice. Why make it deliberate, make it, pre-mandated? That's the big question. What about devices that are already manufactured? What happens then?
They're asking
what about devices like mine that I already have? Now it's up to me that I download it.
It has been asked that you need to download those and put it across into it. I'm again saying that choice is in a way reduced. That we are talking about that choice.
So you update your software basically.
It is reduced, but you need to understand that this choice part, you need to see it on the aspect of whether this choice is in a way negatively taking it or empowering you when it comes to your security and safety. It is practically empowering you. And again, I'm repeating that the answer comes from your own statement that there are so many people, my mother, your mother, my grandfather, who doesn't want to install, doesn't understand that. So they are getting that option in the phone pre-built. If still you feel that I don't want to have it, choice is yours. But it is duty of the state to bring in that security and make it visible to you rather than just lying, going to the Sanchar Sathi app, searching something and doing it, which was there from a past 1 year. If you'll see, not that this is the first time. Sanchar Sathi is there from 1 year. We have these options which are available. But number of people going and checking that is very less because awareness is less. Because people don't understand how to do this and what to do it. That's where this app is coming in place.
Okay, Dilip Cherian says why shouldn't the mechanisms like your CCTV cameras, law enforcement be more stringent? Why can't we work towards those areas first before we get technical?
No, because
also I think the other issue is that when you have options, don't forget that both the Android and the Apple systems allow you to trace your phone if it is stolen. Truecaller, for example, allows you to spot spam calls before they come to your phone. So, I think that this is not what technology and creating these kinds of buffers is a choice that each consumer needs to make on her own. Whether she's your grandmother or whether she's the lady who sells you vegetables, I think they are today, India's citizens are far sharper than citizens across the world. This gives you the feeling of a nanny state, and I think that is just the kind of thing which impinges on the sense of comfort that an average citizen has.
Give me one answer. I'm sorry. Sir, just give me one answer. What do you consider putting a seat belt as a compulsion when you drive? A driver's seat and the seat next to it, there is a compulsion. Can I say that I should have a choice whether I want to die, I want to have a security?
There's a big difference that you can't compare this app with the seat belt at this point.
I want to drive without seat belt.
You can't compare the app with the seat belt, ma'am.
Government is forcing me.
No,
but you can't compare the app with the seat belt. You're basically, in that case, you're trying to project that as if there is absolutely no, you're then trying to project that there are no other options except for this app. But there are options, right? You have cybersecurity safety apps on its own. You can buy a package. You have iPhones and Samsung giving cybersecurity within your phones. You have tracking mechanisms. You have all of those mechanisms.
Why should government have to do
this? In the car and sit and drive. Why do you have a seatbelt option? See, one has to understand the aspect of accountability, the aspect of security.
That's a wrong analogy, I'll say. This Sanchar Sathi app cannot be a seatbelt because there have been several other options that have... Yeah.
No, you can.
There are several other options that have been in place.
We
welcome...
cow, since the cow is a holy animal.
We welcome the government's intention.
Argument. It doesn't get us anywhere.
Okay, that's all I have time for. I apologize.
Brand India is affected by this kind of activity.
Well, the brand India is also affected by the rising amount of cyber security crimes. So I don't know, it's very difficult to put my finger on this, considering that there is a real threat that's looming on Indians, no doubt. But this forced installation of the app is something that's unsettling. But let's see how this pans out. We welcome the intention of the government at least at the forefront. Thanks very much, both of you, Dilip Cherian. We lost Kaushik and Khushbu for joining us on this. A quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
यही मौका है बिजनेस को बढ़ाने का, पर पैसा।
अपनी सुपर पावर यूज करने का टाइम आ गया है।
अब टेंशन मत लीजिए, IIFL फाइनेंस से झटपट गोल्ड लोन लीजिए और बिजनेस आगे बढ़ाइए।
आपके जैसे सुपर हीरोज ऐसी छोटी मोटी प्रॉब्लम से थोड़ी ना रुकते हैं, इसीलिए लाइफ जब भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दे तो अपनी सुपर पावर, अपना गोल्ड यूज करिए और IIFL फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए।
IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
Eastern India's first Business and Economy Literature Fest 2025 on 20th and 21st December at Taj Tal Kutir, Kolkata. EIILM Kolkata presents a Business and Economy Literature Fest 2025. Curation and ideation partner Story Nest.
Red Fort explosion. Let's get you all the updates. Following the blast, there is of course a South Indian connection of Dr. Shaheen Shahid. Because this is news of national import, that search operations are underway across the entire Al Falah University campus. The blast killed 12 people. Prices, however, of Nandini ghee have been hiked. KMF has defended Nandini is the brand. I've been getting a lot of queries on my phone. What's for the people of Karnataka? Okay, you can play tennis as much as you want to, but I am the umpire and I will say please. There is an eyeball to eyeball confrontation. Where is this going? What is the way out? The farmers, they can actually shake a nation. Both of you down, because I can also shout Prashantji.
All right. Let me take you through a case that's really come as a point of worry for Indian aviation industry and passengers at large. A serious safety lapse has rocked India's skies, and it involves the country's biggest airlines, Air India, which is now Tata run. Now, Tata run Air India flew an Airbus 320 aircraft 8 times with an expired airworthiness certificate. Basically, they flew a plane with passengers in it without a proper certificate that said the aircraft was fit to fly. These flights happened on November 24th and 25th before anyone caught it. Now, remember, airworthiness certificate isn't only just paperwork. It's legal safety clearance that confirms very clearly whether the aircraft is fit to fly or not. And this aircraft certificate had long expired. And without that certificate, a passenger flight should never take off. And this did multiple times. In fact, 8 times across 8 sectors, hundreds of passengers on board. And the mistake wasn't caught by automated safety checks. It was a manual review by an engineer that finally flagged this, after which the aircraft was immediately grounded. Remember, the DGCA, aviation regulator, has launched an investigation. They've promised to take action and look into this very closely. But many questions now. How did such a basic safety requirement get overlooked? Where did the checks fail? Operations control, engineering oversight, compliance teams, what really went wrong? Why did manual scrutiny succeed where systems did not? Air India is in the middle of a huge transformation right now. They're bringing in new aircrafts, upgrading their services, major hiring, fresh training, all of that is happening. And let's not forget the Ahmedabad Air India crash that happened, that really has literally let the, at this point, put a lot of pressure and responsibility at the same time on Air India, all under Tata's revival plan. They're looking into this closely on all aspects, and a big glaring mistake like this was overlooked. That's what's shocking. Well, many questions now on safety oversight, how a big company that was in fact a state-run airline, Air India at one point, that was taken over by the biggest conglomerate, Tata and Sons, commit this massive miss. What kind of action will be taken against Air India for this? Let me bring in our guests joining us. A little more to do with this kind of lapse here. Captain Prashant Dalla, former Flight Operations Inspector, GGCA, will bring us a little more. Wing Commander Alok Sahai, Aviation and Safety Expert. Captain Prashant, would you want to tell us a little more on oversight like this? Do you now this airworthiness certificate is given how often? And who's responsible for checking this airworthiness certificate? Is it easy to overlook? Because, just if I could give an example, in my kitchen, I know I've bought a new packet of tea, but I don't know, I didn't realize the expiry date is December 2025, but I've used it up to Jan 5th. It's just basically oversight on my part, and I still feel all right. It's okay. It's just 5 days ago. I can still use it. Nothing much would change in 5 days, will it? So how long ago was the airworthiness certificate expired? And do you believe this could have been overlooked so easily?
Thank you, Nabila, for having me on your show. I would like to start this show with one single tagline. They say there is no sorry in aviation. Having said that, safety is kept paramount by all the departments, be it operations, engineering, the safety department, the revenue department, the marketing department. Multiple departments are, involved in this particular show of running an airline business. DGCA, being the regulator body, does a periodic check of all aircrafts flying in the Indian territory. It's an annual exercise wherein these documents are necessary, mandatory. The aircraft rules of 1937 mandated. Rule 7 says that certain number of documents are supposed to be carried on board. Also, the civil aviation requirements, section 2, which primarily talks about the airworthiness part of aircrafts, mandates an airline, an operator, to have the airworthiness review certificate on board the aircraft, which is supposed to be valid. Now, coming to this particular instance of an Air India Airbus A320 aircraft, doing 8 revenue flights, what your report clearly talks about, without a valid ARC, Airworthiness Review Certificate. Let us understand the history of this merger. These particular aircrafts were initially on the air operating permit of Vistara. Now, when these aircrafts transitioned from Vistara to a bigger brand of Air India, 69 of these aircrafts had this ARC valid. One particular aircraft, the Airbus 320 aircraft, due to certain engine issues, was grounded, and the oversight, what you just rightly mentioned, led to a situation wherein this aircraft was dispatched with not a valid ARC. Now, this particular situation can happen. It is not an unlikely situation, but please understand the multiple level of checks and balances which an operator has. It is an oversight on the part of the pilot, on the part of the engineering department, on the part of the maintenance at large, and it can really would have led to a big safety mishap.
Right. While we see that, Wing Commander Alok Sahai, could you tell us how can an aircraft with an expired airworthiness certificate operate 8 commercial flights? We understand one was a miss, two was a miss, but 8 commercial flights with hundreds of passengers. Do you believe the passengers are well within their right to sue them? First of all, I am not sure which exactly is that aircraft, but if a passenger finds out that this was what was done, their lives were gambled with, can they take them to court?
Yes, Nabuda, thank you for calling me, and I would like to say what Commander Dalla has said, Captain Dalla has said. This was one of the 70 Vistara aircraft after merger with Air India, and under this merger, this decision was taken by the first ARC, the Airworthiness Review Certification, which is done annually on every aircraft, will be done by DGCA. This is what the report says. So, and 69 of these ARCs were undertaken and certifications were issued. But this one aircraft, which had, as Mr. Dhalla has very rightly said, it had an engine issue and it went for engine replacement as far as my information goes. And after that, the engine replacement, people simply forgot that the ARC has lapsed and the ARC was not issued. My question is, that if this lapse took place and the aircraft went for next flight without an ARC certificate, how could it undertake 7 flights? That necessarily means that before the flights, the ARC checks were not carried out in the previous 7 flights undertaken. This is a serious lapse on the system. The people who declare that before the sortie, the airworthiness of the aircraft, what are they supposed to check at the time before the aircraft takes off? Are they not checking also the air, whether ARC is valid or not? Number one. Number two, the silver lining is that at least the Air India is waking up now, and they have started reporting these matters, because this matter was reported by Air India itself. So this is a silver lining. But on the other hand, I tell you that in the last annual audit reports, the 7 level 1 cases were reported. Level 1 cases are very serious lapses and which compromises the safety dangerously. So this is a serious thing. And in my opinion, DGCA must take very strict action against the people responsible for this lapse. How did these flights were undertaken without proper verification of the documents? And responsible people should be suitably punished for this, because as Captain Dalla has said that safety is our paramount concern. Of course, I have also been in aviation sector for a pretty long time, but this is the time we must fix the responsibilities now. Yes, Nabuda.
Yeah, especially after the Air India crash in Ahmedabad, I feel at this point, Air India and every aviation company must ensure that they adhere to rules and strictly. So what kind of punishment do you believe they would get? Air India for risking the lives of passengers, overseeing that expiry date, if I could call it, of that aircraft. What punishment could they get, Captain Prashant?
You know, the aircraft rules of 1937 talks about section 6, if I'm not mistaken, talks about punishment and compounding offences. Now, when you are in violation of a particular rule, which is laid down in the Parliament and has the nod of the honourable courts, now it becomes very serious. When I'm sure certain fact-finding, like Wing Kosai has just mentioned, it's a voluntary report. But please understand, there shouldn't be any immunity granted to that operator for this particular instance. be it so that the violation is of a higher nature. You cannot operate revenue flights with about 180 passengers on board and try and play with the safety. So I'm sure there's going to be a financial penalty as well as some heads must roll in this particular instance.
Wing Commander, a final question to you on what's your view on automated mechanisms? Is there a way that automated alerts can stop aircraft dispatch if certification lapses? How can we really up our technology there? Or is it already existing and not there in old crafts?
I cannot comment on the level of automation we have as far as checking of the documents is concerned, because it's very difficult. Finally, manually, somebody has to feed into the document. I mean, the automation will work provided you put these checks in the system. And suppose the lapse happens there, like in the previous incident, one incident in July. An aircraft mandatory engine part change was not undertaken and a false report was submitted. And this case became a very big, and I don't know what punishment has. So automation will work as long as the people working there, feeding the systems, updating the systems in the computers, are also honest, and there are checks and balances on them also. Yes, Nabuda.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, both of you, Wing Commander Alok Sahai and Captain Prashant, for joining us on this. Let's just hope Air India fix their act, but we will closely watch to see what and how they were reprimanded by the DGCA. All right, let's quickly cut across to all our top stories on day tonight. Let's start with the political turmoil and tensions that's currently brewing in Pakistan. Pakistan's political tensions refuses to ease. Imran Khan is alive, and Imran Khan's sister confirms that Uzma Khan finally got permission to meet her brother inside Adiala Jail. Imran Khan, former Prime Minister who's languishing in jail for over 3 years over allegations of corruption, he's alive. His sister says that he's in confinement, but she confirms that he's very much alive. She also says that he's medically fine, but says that he's been kept in solitary confinement, subjected to mental torture. She blames directly Asim Munir, the Army Chief General, of trying to torture him inside prison. For nearly a week, PTI supporters, Imran's family, have all gathered outside courts and police zones, raising alarm and protests, unending protests that they have carried out, asking for proof of Imran's life. Now, Imran Khan's sister finally gets to meet him. Pakistan's army or the police there have clearly buckled out of international media pressure and the kind of bad image that Pakistan as a country has received owing to targeting of their former Prime Minister. According to the family and supporters of Imran Khan, he is falsely implicated in these cases. Pakistan's response has been swift, though. They have, on their part, the government has imposed Section 144 in Rawalpindi. Roads to Adiala Jail have been all seized. Protests have been curbed. Gatherings have been banned. Many of the ministers not being allowed to still see him. But, well, at least now we know he's alive. His sister speaks.
सेहत अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ठीक है, मगर जहनी वो उन्होंने बड़े गुस्से में थे, कहते हैं कि हमें ये मेंटल टॉर्चर कर रहे हैं और सारा दिन कमरे में बंद, थोड़ा सा बाहर जब निकल सकते हैं, कोई किसी से कम्युनिकेशन नहीं, कहते हैं कि आसिम मुनीर जिम्मेदार है.
All right, let's cut across to the severe cyclone and floods that's ravaged Sri Lanka. Now, while the country grapples with this crisis, Pakistan is facing huge trolling and embarrassment after part of its emergency relief that they were sending to Sri Lanka, cyclone hit Sri Lanka, was found to be expired and unusable. Sri Lanka immediately flagged this consignment and officially complained as well, calling this lapse as unacceptable during humanitarian emergency. Meanwhile, India promptly approved Pakistan's overflight request for that aid flight, keeping humanitarian needs above all politics. India's own support is now ramping up. Under Operation Sagar Bandhu, Indian Navy, Air Force, NDRF teams are all delivering critical aid items to Sri Lanka. President of Sri Lanka has called India's support a lifeline. Well, Cyclone Ditwah's devastation is staggering. 410 lives lost, 1.4 million people affected, 2 lakh people out of shelters in Sri Lanka, 20,000 homes that are destroyed. Roads, bridges, entire villages remain cut off, 400 people said to be missing. During rescue operations, a Sri Lankan aircraft, a helicopter crashed, killing the pilot, deepening this national pain for them. Sri Lanka is fighting 2 fronts, a massive natural disaster, and here you have aid coming in which isn't fit enough, coming from Pakistan particularly. India, of course, stepping up its relief material. Across to big story coming in from Karnataka on the political turmoil. It still continues. Karnataka, the Deputy Chief Minister and the Chief Minister, DK Shivakumar Siddaramaiah, met for the second time for breakfast, and it was quite interesting.